2 billion cups. That's how much coffee is drank every day. Coffee is the most widely used psychoactive drug of all time, and the second most traded commodity in the world. It's safe to say that the world runs on coffee. It's been estimated by the Journal of Caffeine Research that 28% of people in the United States are dependent on caffeine. But how did coffee become such a juggernaut? Who found it, and how did it spread? How unethical are modern caffeine farms? Join me on this journey as we find out how coffee took the world by storm. The Legend of Cowdy. The story of caffeine begins in Ethiopia, where it's said that a goat herder named Cowdy discovered the effect of coffee beans around the 9th century. According to legend, Cowdy noticed that his goats became more energetic and playful after eating some red berries from a nearby bush. He decided to try some himself and felt the same boost of energy and alertness. He then took some of the berries to a local monastery where he shared them with a monk. The monk was not impressed and threw them into a fire, thinking they were evil. However, as the berries roasted in the fire, they emitted a pleasant aroma that attracted other monks. They retrieved the roasted beans from the fire and brewed them in water, creating the first cup of coffee. Now, this story is probably not true, but it is a fun way to imagine how coffee was discovered. And who knows, maybe there is some truth to it. After all, goats are pretty smart animals. They can climb trees, open doors, and even play video games. Maybe they knew something we didn't. Maybe they were just high on caffeine. The spread of coffee. Coffee spread from Ethiopia to other parts of Africa and then the Middle East, where it became a popular drink among Muslims who were forbidden from drinking alcohol. Coffee houses soon emerged as places where people could socialise, exchange ideas, and enjoy music and poetry. Some even called coffee houses schools of the wise because they were centres of learning and culture. Others called them hotbeds of sedition because they were also places where political dissent and rebellions were discussed. Coffee then reached Europe in the 17th century, where it faced some opposition from religious authorities who called it a devil's drink. Some even tried to ban it or tax it heavily. However, coffee lovers prevailed, and coffee houses became popular in cities like London, Paris, and Vienna. Coffee houses were also places where intellectuals, artists, and writers gathered to debate and create. For example, Isaac Newton and Voltaire frequented coffee houses in London and Paris respectively. And did you know that the famous composer Mozart wrote an opera called The Abduction from the Seraglio that was inspired by his visit to the Turkish coffee house in Vienna? Apparently, he liked Turkish coffee so much that he wrote a whole aria about it. Coffee also crossed the Atlantic Ocean and reached the Americas in the 18th century, where it became a staple drink for colonists who rebelled against British tea taxes. Coffee was also associated with democracy and independence, and many important events in American history took place in or near coffee houses. For example, the Boston Tea Party was planned in a coffee house called the Green Dragon, and the Declaration of Independence was first read aloud in a coffee house in Philadelphia. And did you know that George Washington was a big fan of coffee? He even had his own personal coffee roaster at Mount Vernon. The modern era of coffee. Coffee continued to grow in popularity and production throughout the 19th and 20th centuries as new varieties and methods of cultivation were developed. Coffee also became more accessible and affordable to the masses, thanks to inventions like the instant coffee and espresso machines. Today, coffee is one of the most consumed beverages around the world, with over 2 billion cups consumed every day. Coffee is also a huge industry that employs millions of people around the world, from farmers to roasters to baristas. Coffee is also a diverse and versatile drink that can be enjoyed in many different ways. You can have it black or with milk or cream or alcohol, or whatever you like. You can have it hot or cold or frozen or blended or spiked with flavour. You can have it as a latte or a cappuccino or a macchiato or a cortado or whatever you call it. Coffee is also a source of inspiration and creativity for many people who love it. You can find coffee-themed art, music, literature, or even games. For example, there's one game called Coffee Talk, where you play as a barista who listens to the stories and problems of your customers while making them drinks. And there's another one called Coffee Simulator, where you simulate drinking coffee. And by that, I mean you push a button and watch a cup of coffee fill up your screen. That's it. That's the whole game. It's surprisingly addictive. Unfortunately, human rights violations in coffee farms are a serious problem that affect millions of workers and their families around the world. Coffee workers are often exploited, underpaid, overworked, and exposed to health and safety risks, such as pesticides, injuries, and diseases. Coffee workers are also denied their basic rights, such as education, healthcare, and freedom of association. Some coffee workers are even subjected to forced labour and child labour, which are modern forms of slavery. These violations are often driven by the low prices and high demand for coffee in a global market, which creates pressure and competition among coffee producers. The future of coffee. So, what's next for coffee? Well, coffee is facing some challenges in the 21st century, such as climate change, pests, diseases, and social and economic issues that affect coffee farmers and workers. However, coffee is also adapting and evolving to meet these challenges, with new innovations and initiatives that aim to make coffee more sustainable, ethical, and delicious. For example, there are projects that use biotechnology to create genetically modified coffee plants that are more resistant to diseases and droughts. There are also projects that use blockchain technology to create more transparent and fair trade systems for coffee producers and consumers. And there are projects that use artificial intelligence to create personalised and customised coffee experiences for all coffee lovers. Coffee is also expanding its horizons and exploring new frontiers, such as space. Yes, space. Did you know that there's a special espresso machine on the International Space Station that allows astronauts to enjoy a cup of coffee in zero gravity? It is called the IS Espresso, and it was developed by an Italian company in collaboration with NASA. It's not easy to make coffee in space because water behaves differently without gravity. But the IS Espresso uses a special system that pumps water through a capsule of coffee grounds at high pressure and temperature, creating a shot of espresso that can be enjoyed by the astronaut in a special plastic pouch. Addiction. Sadly, caffeine does affect many people in an incredibly negative way. Caffeine addiction is a serious problem that can affect your health and well-being. It can cause anxiety, insomnia, headaches, and other symptoms. It can also make you dependent on a substance that can harm your body and mind. If you think you're addicted to caffeine, please seek support and help. So, as you can see, coffee has come a long way since its humble origins in Ethiopia. It has travelled the world and conquered hearts and minds with its aroma and flavour. It has inspired and influenced culture and history with its power and charm, and it has adapted and evolved with science and technology with its potential and promise. Coffee is not just a drink for some people, it's a phenomenon, it's a lifestyle, it's a passion. And that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed and learned something new about coffee. If you did, I think you'd love this video here on the history of music, where we delve through its roots from ancient to modern times. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.